In his book, Defining Moments, Badaracco gives some helpful suggestions as to how we can build character through defining moments. Badaracco contends that many of the decisions we face are not right versus wrong decisions, but are actually right versus right decisions where we must discern what is best amongst multiple good options. This can become very complicated. How we make these decisions defines us. According to Badaracco, defining moments reveal something about our basic values and key commitments. Defining moments have a way of stripping away the stuff on the surface and getting what's in our hearts. They test our commitment to certain values. Are we prepared to stand on our values even though there may be a cost involved? Defining moments also can shape us by reinforcing our basic values. When we make an important decision, it tends to reinforce the underlying values that prompted that particular decision. Badaracco contends that thoughtful people can recognize defining moments as they happen, and that care and reflection matter greatly for resolving them well. Thoughtful people recognize that the stakes are high when it comes to making decisions that not only determine a specific course of action in the present, but also will contribute to making decisions in a certain way in the future. So, the million-dollar question is, how do we resolve defining moments well? Badaracco suggests 6 ways. The first one is to recognize the limitations of grand principles. These overarching principles may help us to make right versus wrong decisions and to appreciate the fundamental issues in right versus right decisions. Yet they're often not adequate in themselves to make the many right versus right decisions that we face. They provide a general sense of moral direction, which is important, but may not give us the specific guidance we need to sort out what's best in a particular situation. Badaracco also encourages us to become who we are. We need to consider our feelings, connections, the future, and our goals. With feelings, how do my feelings and instincts define the dilemma? What is my intuition or gut saying about the situation? With our connections, which of the responsibilities and values in conflict have the deepest roots in my life and in the communities I care about? Looking to the future, what is my way? How will my choices shape my future self? And then with goals, how can expediency and shrewdness, along with imagination and boldness, move me towards the goals I care about most strongly? The third way that we might resolve defining moments well is to give ourselves wiggle room in making decisions. Don't let undue narrow thinking limit your options. Avoid legalism. Look beyond the immediate context to consider the larger implications of any decision. Recognize that the particular decision you're facing is a part of a much larger web of decisions. It's also important that we remember that we're not making decisions in a vacuum. Badaracco asks, what are the other strong, persuasive, competing interpretations of the situation or problem that I hope to use as a defining moment for my organization? Have I orchestrated a process that can make the values I care about become the truth for my organization? Another way to resolve defining moments well is to balance virtu with virtue. Virtue, according to Badaracco, follows Aristotle's emphasis on moderation, circumspection, and restraint, leading to measured reactions, calibrated moves, and judicious compromise. Virtu is different. Virtu is a combination of vigor, confidence, imagination, shrewdness, boldness, practical skill, personal force, determination, and self-discipline. In an attempt to balance virtue with virtu, we may choose to minimize some of our virtues and values to uphold a higher principle. For example, when my wife was almost due with our 3rd child, I received a phone call from her saying that I needed to get home right away. The baby was coming. I rushed home and we headed to the hospital. Now, I have a fairly strong belief about observing the speed limit, As my wife's contractions intensified, that belief was overtaken by a higher principle, getting my wife to the hospital so that a medical professional and not a professor could deliver our baby. Sometimes compromises that advance higher principles are acceptable. A final principle for resolving defining moments well is to carve out quiet spaces. Badaracco maintains that serenity can protect us from the hazard of over-immersion, of losing ourselves and our bearings in the unending stream of life's tasks. These quiet spaces afford us the necessary time to reflect on the decision, the surrounding circumstances, our own values and goals, and the implications of any decision that we make. Defining moments, well, they define us. It's important that we resolve them well. For you see, we're not only trying to make a wise ethical decision in the defining moment, but those decisions define our character, which influences how we make decisions in the future. C.S. Lewis put it this way: every time you make a choice, you are turning the central part of you, the part of you that chooses, into something a little different from what it was before.